All right, we have a sprint takeover here by Emily IS, and it is the Murderous Alyssenne flowers. And and it's okay. So look, just taking a nice. Okay, this is going to be a long one. A lot of good pictures. Courtship. Suggested articles. Okay, related. Oh, locations, creation, taxonomy. Wow. Okay. Do I have lots of bots in my stream now? Okay. Let's turn on the sprint timer. All right, let's get to it. All right, and maybe zoom in a little bit for the reading. All right. The Alyssenne flowers were unsurprisingly born from the action of the house Alyssenne. According to legend, during a particularly bad storm season, the eastern coast of the estate was ravaged by the attacks of gigantic, sentient sea creatures able to manipulate magic. In order to send them back to the depth of the sea, the members of House Alyssenne and their neighbors, the House of Lyrene, performed an extremely powerful ritual. When the magic of the ritual and that of the creature clashed together, magical storms erupted and devastated the region. Afterwards, the magic failed to dissipate properly, and the land had to be left uninhabited. Over 5,000 years have been enough for the wildlife to return to form what is now called the Black Forest. Oh, Coda's just outside the door whining. He just wants to come in. Okay. Over 5,000 years. See this. Got some. Um, Over 5,000 years. I put a comma. Like wildlife has returned to a form now called the Black Forest. Okay, so you can tighten up that sentence. As I read it, it didn't flow well, and so I'd probably chop it up like that. And don't worry, the sprint takeover will be posted on YouTube tomorrow. So if you miss it, you can watch. If you miss some of the advice, you can come back and watch it either on Twitch.tv or on YouTube tomorrow. Okay. All plants and animals living there have been strongly affected by the remnants of the magic, making the region extremely dangerous to travel. Even nowadays, only the river that crosses the forest can be used by small ships. Now, okay, um, okay, the word only in English is a funny word because it can change location in the sentence and it changes a lot of the meaning. So, right now, only the river means only the river can take the action. And that is not what I think that you're trying to say with thing, this sentence, because the river that crosses the the forest can be used by only small ships, because what is the thing that is only modifying? Because is it modifying the river, or is it modifying the small ships? And my guess is that you're referring to the small ships, because only small ships can dare travel the river through the Black Forest. So that would be my guess, is to move only down here. Though not without danger, since the river empties directly into the sea infested with the sea creatures, it is not usually worth the risk. Okay. The word usually here is softening your sentence and the declarative nature of it. Um, it is not usually worth the risk. To whom? Uh, okay, it is not. You could strengthen this sentence a little bit in saying most captains find it not worth the risk. And then you're not just saying, well, who usually is finding it? Is it the captains of the ship? Is it the crew? Is it law-abiding citizens? But pirates, they're good to go. They'll take this river. Just uh, int- um, most law-abiding captains deem it not worthy the risk, or something like that. Okay, the Alyssenne flower is one of the numerous new species born from this incident, and the most aggressive of them all. It is more special than the other plants, as it is said to have been created from the blood that was dropped by Lord Alyssenne during the ritual. The sea creatures devastated the eastern coast. Okay. Habitat. The Alyssenne flowers only grow in the Alyssenne estate, either in the wild, in the Black Forest, or cultivated within the Alyssenne manor. Okay, here you're using the word only again, but it's not a true only, because you're saying it only grows in the estate, either in the wild, which is not in the estate, or within the manor. Okay, the manor's in the state. So the addition of this in the wild, in the Black Forest, kind of negates the concept of only, meaning exclusive. On the estate means the country. Then I would probably change in to the word on the estate. Because, and then you could, um, maybe I missed it, but talking about how the Black Forest is on the estate as well. Like, what is called the Black Forest, you know, yeah, magical storms erupted and devastated the region, but maybe bring up that the fact that the Black Forest is on the estate as well, then you wouldn't have to worry about that as much, because I understand a manor is on an estate, but us Americans, we don't have a lot of estates here to really uh, understand how that all works in the European society. But yeah, letting know that the Black Forest is on the estate still. Okay. Um, it is suspected that they need to be surrounded with the magic of the Alyssenne land to survive. Some have argued that the only reason why they are not found outside this estate is that they have killed anyone who has attempted to remove them. However, this can only be considered an argument in favor of their preference for Alyssenne land and reluctance to leave, for surely the plants would otherwise love this opportunity to spread to new environments. Inside the Black Forest, the flowers prefer to find wet areas and swamp conditions. While bred in the Alyssenne manner, they are kept directly inside an artificial pond. Okay, with the word like bred, I'm still getting the feeling that these are cultivated as opposed to sentient beings that are reproducing themselves. Like, there's someone, coming in and, making sure that they're being taken care of. Rather surprisingly, the Alyssenne flowers have good relationships with most other plant species, even occasionally coming to the aid of plants that are hurt by animals. Okay, here you have two ideas in the same sentence, and for clarity's sake, you could separate those. I am of the opinion that one should keep the sentences to one specific idea, because here your idea is they have a good relationship and they're coming to the aid. Those are two separate ideas, so they should be in a separate sentence. So you could just put a period there. Oh, and then just say they occasionally come to the aid of plants that are hurt by flowers. Or an alternate would be just to put a semicolon in there because you're connecting to independent clauses. Rather surprisingly, the Alyssenne flower, the flowers like to grow in the shade of a particular shade species of trees, especially the apple trees that give their emblem to the house of Lyrene. The two species have been known to cooperate in killing sea creatures, sharing their corpses. In addition, the year-round apples attract forest animals, guaranteeing a constant flow of prey for the flowers. Okay, this is good. The fact that the emblem is an apple is good information, but it does seem kind of out of place in this specific paragraph. That's a nitpick. Okay. All right. Ooh, that's very pretty. The Alyssenne flower is characterized by its big and colorful flower that averages between 5 and 10 centimeters, the size of a hand. Only one flower grows per plant. The petals are considered by most to be a beautiful color, a mix of turquoise, the color of the Alyssennes, blue, and purple. The color is due to aggregates of proteins that bind magical properties. Each flower has a unique mixture of colors forming patterns that distinguish them from each other. Very cool. There are between 20 to 40 petals arranged in 3 rows, giving the flower a radial symmetry. A petal. Oh, okay. The flowers are perennial and never fade. When damaged, the plants can regrow their flowers. However, since they are essential part of the culture they hate showing themselves in a state, and this puts them in an even more terrible and aggressive mood than usual. Again, I would chop this sentence up a little bit. Um, they yeah, like yeah, I'd almost take this um talking about the petals, move it up to the flowers are perennial and never fade. Their petals are an essential part of their culture. Period. When damaged, okay, so the plants can regrow their flowers. Period. They hate showing themselves. Okay, let me turn on the sprint timer for whomever may wish it. All right. They hate showing themselves in a state that puts them in an even more terrible and aggressive mood than usual. So you could, I would move this up, and then they hate showing themselves in that state. That is a word that we should, if you can get rid of, do, but like in the damaged, like the damaged state, in this damaged state, period. um and then when damaged, they are in an even more terrible and aggressive mood than usual. Okay, again, my my preferences for short sentences is coming through. The stamens are a mixture of light pink and purple. They contain either pollen or a chemical that is hallucinogenic to humans and animals. While the pollen is only released through contact, the chemical is projected in the air, and magic makes it float over long distances. The plant. Okay. And this. Is the chemical also ejected or sprayed by the stamen, or is the chemical sprayed in another manner? Because we're talking about the stamens, and usually stamens don't, they only contain the pollen, but if they can um, spray a chemical in addition to holding the pollen, that would need to be called out, because I believe stamens usually can't do that, but it would be a different, or just say the stamens were modified by the magic. The plant is ambulatory. It has short stems that is attached to an enormous network of roots, and it controls both thanks to magic. Protein aggregates located at its base. Each of the roots is hundreds of meters long. They are bright green and fluorescent after a magic filled meal. Thin red thorns cover them, with each of them containing glands filled with poison. Okay. Um okay, walking. But okay, so this has a short stem. Okay, so it is ambulatory, but yet it's still connected to roots. Does this mean that it's like a dog on a leash, and they can walk around a small area as long as they don't detach themselves from the network of roots? And like, I would I would try clarify. I, since they're in water, the roots move. Ah, Okay. Then that needs to be clarified, because you do talk about earlier how they're in an artificial pool. Um, where was it you're talking about? They liked Okay, they like to find wet areas and swamp conditions. They're kept inside an artificial pond. I would take this opportunity back up here in the habitat to say that they prefer to live in water, because a wet area and a swampy condition for a plant um, still makes me think that it would be in mud. But if this is like a water lily that has a very long root system that still attaches it, but it can still float on the water, that's another thing. So, um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I would clarify that. Let's see, and I may change. I may change the. I may recommend changing the word ambulatory, because that refers to walking, and walking usually refers to the ground that you walk upon. Change if there was an equivalent word for swimming. The plant is mobile, or the the plant is able to move itself through the water. You know, the plant can swim as far as its roots will allow it, or something like that. The plants are sentient. Back to the reading. The plants are sentient. They do not have an organ that can be likened to a brain, but the magic protein aggregates carry a similar function. Thus, after being partially destroyed, plants can grow back from only the flower or the base of the stem, but not from both at the same time. The plant's lifespan is unknown, as none apart from the Alyssenne and the Lyrine have been able to study them close enough to determine this. When asked, the members of both houses have said that the plants are immortal, and that some specimens can created during the initial cataclysm are still around. This is generally disbelieved, as although any human, animal, or plant with sufficient magic is immortal in theory, the practice is no in practice no one has lived more than a few centuries. It is likely that sooner or later all flowers are killed by the sea creatures or the animals of the forest. Okay. See, this is an interesting, because here in this paragraph you're introducing debate, because so far you've been very factual in explaining this is how it is. But here you introduce, some people believe this, some people believe that. And so it's interesting. Vanna Kane. Vanna Kane, welcome. Thank you so much for the follow. So I would probably um some maybe create a new controversy subheader, or debate, or uh, maybe have a new subheader of some kind, and say, or just uh, like lifespan debate, something like that in here, and then, because that would separate that, yeah, there's a debate about this. Or if you don't want to add a new header, just spread. have the facts in one paragraph, and then the second paragraph talking about the debate between the people who say it's immortal and those who do not, and then give the reasons for both. Because to keep the paragraphs focused on one specific topic. Okay, thorns. Okay, here's the red thorns, the stems, the poison glands. Okay, they're on the base, the root network. You might want to label. Oh, hey James, thanks for the post. You might want to label this, water or something like that. Uh, and what? Okay, the roots could keep it afloat. I mean, so here's a question: if this is water, what makes it float, or can it float? Because to me this just looks like a regular root system, and I would guess that it's just like a human can stand in shallow water. Yeah. Okay. But so my question is, does does the plant float, or does the plant stand up with its roots acting as legs in water? I mean, what keeps the petal above the water? I don't know. It's just this diagram uh, doesn't lead me to believe that this thing can float by itself. Senses and carnivory. Oh, that's terrifying. The Alyssenne flowers can feel vibrations through their roots and detect chemicals in the water and air, thus recognizing the approach of their prey and other flowers' unique scents. Okay, and other flowers' unique scents. What does this apply to? Um, okay, the Alyssine flowers can feel vibrations through their roots and detect chemicals in the water and air. Period. Thus, thus recognizing the approach of their prey. Like these help, or no. It's just there's a good complete sentence. This second part would need to be reworked, and I don't know what you're trying to say with other flowers' unique sense. The the recognizing the approach of their prey and other flowers' unique sense. So they can use the chemicals in the air to recognize the approach of prey and the unique sense. I'm just not sure. In addition to sentience, the magic protein aggregates contained in the petal give them a sense of sight and hearing, with the plants able to understand human language despite not having been previously exposed to them. Plants with damaged flowers and seedlings without a proper flower have diminished senses and are vulnerable. The hallucinogenic chemical in the flower's stamens give animals pleasant visions and gives the flowers an extremely pleasant fragrance, attracting the chemicals towards them. Once close enough, the flowers use their roots to grab and drag their prey toward them. The thorns present on the root then pierce skin, and the poison glands pour their content inside the prey. Okay, I would probably pour is, you pour. A needle would inject. A needle or something that pierces the skin. Yeah. Well, let's go back to your diagram here. Are the needles hollow? Are the thorns hollow? And can the poison come through the thorn? Or how the does the poison go into the prey through a hole in the thorn like a hypodermic needle? Or does the thorn just create a wound that the poison then lands on and then is oh, my alarms. Let's do another one. Okay. Or do the or do the or does or does the poison travel the outside of the thorn, and then where the thorn has punctured a hole, then the poison just kind of, when the thorn is removed, then the poison just kind of goes inside. Yes, the an injection is definitely more lethal and aggressive. Okay. Pierce the skin. Okay. This poison first attacks the magic and the nerves of the prey, thus paralyzing them. Then it attracts the magic toward the roots like a magnet so the plant can suck it out. Okay. Sucking out the magic. I guess you don't need to have an organ in the plant to be able to suck out magic, so that's cool. The flower's favorite prey are the gigantic sea creatures living in the eastern sea that still regularly attempt to come back to the Black Forest. If not available, they eat all animals living in the Black Forest and any human venturing there. The Alyssenne flowers communicate together by touching each other's roots and exchanging magic. Thus, they have elaborate social life. They have an elaborate social life, or they have elaborate social lives. Either one. The flowers have a particular way of entering the territories of flowers not belonging to their family group. They stand on the border and inch a root over to the other side while releasing a small amount of their hallucinogenic chemicals into the water. If the amount is not small enough, this is perceived as a challenge or even a mortal offense. The flowers to which the territory belongs come to inspect the newcomer and decide if they grant them rite of passage or not. Some flowers make the round of their congeners, uh, territory, but do not come inside them. The flowers instead touch each other's roots, probably to exchange news and gossip before leaving. Okay. Huh. There's something missing here. How can they travel if they have a root system? Does the roots does the root are they able, if they're ambulatory or if they can swim, does that mean that they can actually pull up their roots out of the dirt and inject them into the dirt as needed? Hmm. Okay, the root doesn't go in the earth. Okay, then that that would need to be explained earlier because um yeah, then going back to the artificial pond and stuff like that, that would need to be explained that the roots never enter the ground, they're purely in the water, because that brings up the possibility that you could have a root actually, they could throw some of their roots over into a pond and they could actually leave a pond for a puddle or something like that. But yeah, I think we need better clarification that the root doesn't go into the earth, because that makes their mobility make a lot more sense later on here. The flowers always know when they are being disrespected, and they do not like it at all. Whether the culprits are human, animal, or other flowers, any such action is met with swift retribution. The flowers have even been known to draw out the torments of particularly disagreeable prey for hours. Wow, okay. As the plants have only one flower each, and the flower is important for their social life, they are extremely protective of it. Damaging a petal is a mortal offense, even in otherwise allied plants. Okay, the mortal offense. I mean, does a mortal offense mean that it's worth killing over? Because that's what it sounds like to me. Damaging petal is a, yeah, okay. Okay, so they just kill anyone who damages a petal. Well, that's fair. Um, Mortal offense. Yeah, okay. Um, Good. Courtship and reproduction. The hallucinogenic chemical that gives the Alyssenne flowers their scent is not for attracting pollinators. As the flowers are sentient, they are not dependent on passive mechanisms to reproduce. In fact, they eat any that would come close enough. And okay, does that include the typical? Okay, when you think of typical pollinators, you think of bees and other small flying creatures. So does their carnivorousness include being an insectivore? Will they eat bugs in addition to small animals? Instead, color and scent are okay, cool. So um I I would call out, because an insect is really not considered meat when you're talking about a carnivore, but an insectivore, you may want to reference that. Yeah, they'll eat bugs too, but that may not be their primary. They'll eat it because they're just vindictive little flowers. They don't they don't eat um, they don't eat bugs for nutrition. They eat bugs out of spite. Okay. Instead, color and scent are courtship mechanisms devised to attract other flowers' attentions and seduce them by showing off their predation abilities. Indeed, all of these elements depend on the amount of magic a flower is able to obtain from its meals. Each flower has its own preference in the colors and patterns of potential mates and in their scent. They do not practice self pollination. No self-pollination. That all species need to remember not to self-pollinate. Okay. Once some plants have decided, okay, some, are they monogamous or polyamorous plants? Because you just say some plants. You may want to clarify that as well. They rub their flowers together to put their stamens and pistils in contact. Both plants are pollinated simultaneously and both will produce offspring. Oh, okay. Contrary to other types of flowers, they do not lose their petals after pollination. The pistil slowly transforms into a follicle, a small dark blue nut-like fruit with a hard covering. It contains 2 to 3 seeds. When the incubation period is completed, the follicle opens by, thank you, okay, thank you for putting that thing in there, the tooltip. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word. To release the seeds into the surrounding water, the pistils then regenerate. Okay, this is some good information. I like how you're providing a contrast with how with other ones. Okay, flowers do not reproduce very often, with an average of once every 50 years. Always in spring, the entire community is very protective of pregnant flowers, and catching sight of them is extremely difficult and almost always deadly. Pregnant plants do not hunt. Instead, the other flowers in the group bring them the prey they catch. If the pregnant flowers do not have partners available, as the two flowers who pollinated each other get pregnant together, any nearby flowers assist them instead. Okay, so are these nearby flowers then not the carnivorous ones? The other flowers are also able to give them the Alyssenne. If pregnant flowers do not have partners, meaning I guess when you say partners, I'm just like family. They don't have their siblings or their family group members. Same species, but not. Oh, okay. Nathalia, 7 pages handwritten. That is awesome. Okay, so you may want to clarify that when they say by nearby flowers, you may want to say that from other family groups will. So typically the entire community, maybe the family group is, but then any nearby flowers from the larger community assist them instead. You know, you could to make that clarification, de-emphasize entire community and just say family group, and there at the bottom just say, and then bring up the entire community outside the family group down there below. Oh, okay, the bearing of the fruit. Okay. Seedlings and family groups. All right. Once dropped into the water, a seed immediately germinates with no dormancy period. The seedlings grow its roots first, although it takes a year for it to be able to catch small prey by itself. In the meantime, the parents bring food directly to its roots. Wait. What about miscarriages or things that happen that way? Is it possible that something happens that prevents the nut from developing further, and instead of both being pregnant, one, I hate to use the term miscarries, and is that the pregnancy does not come to term? Okay. Unfortunately, personal experience has me thinking about that topic a lot when it comes to pregnancy. Uh, Sorry for being dark, but it happens. Once dropped. Okay, once. Okay. In the meantime, parents bring food directly to its roots. First animal corpses, then after 6 months, live prey. After a year, it starts to grow a stem and the beginning of a flower bud. The flower will not bloom before the plant is 5 years old, and this event results in all nearby plants visiting and admiring the new petals. Younglings have dimmer petals than adult flowers, and they go progressively brighter in the following years until they reach maturity. Okay, start. Don't apologize for talking about it. It's something that happens, and people always say they have trouble dealing with it because it's almost taboo to talk about it. Yeah, maybe I'll talk about him. Is I have 5 children, but we had 6 pregnancies, and our last one was about a week away from being born, but then was self strangulated on the umbilical cord, and the pregnancy was terminated because of that. So he would be 8. Our second son, would be 8 this summer had he lived. So yeah, wow, time flies. Uh, okay, back to this. The flower will not bloom before the plant is 5 years old, and the events result in all nearby plants visiting. Okay, um, younglings have dimmer petals than adult flowers, and they get progressively brighter in the following years until they reach full maturity at 10 years old. I juxtaposition. Yeah, it was. It was awful. But um, when they say time heals all wounds, mm, some wounds take longer time than others. Okay, the Acyline flowers live together in small groups of partnered flowers and their offspring. The seedlings stay with their parents for 10 years, after which young plants live together in roaming bands. Once they find their own partners and settle in their own territory, mated flowers stay together long after pollination. They all hold roots together and only separate briefly for hunting. Okay, so this tells me that they are mated flowers. You could talk, they stay together. So, that could talk a little bit about monogamy among the flowers if they have that sort of concept. Yeah, and so here are the children over here. Here's but see here, I think that this is a family group or something like that. Okay. Wow. Um Flower divorce court. Sorry. The the Alyssenne flowers are still fulfill their initial purpose by killing all sea creatures that come into the Black Forest, thus keeping the estate safe. They are polygamous groups, but they can only reproduce 2 at a time. That's good to know. Um, Fulfill their initial purpose by killing all sea creatures that come into the Black Forest, thus keeping the estate safe. Are there humans still on this estate? I mean, to me, I just get the vibe that this is a an abandoned estate, but do humans still there? I don't know. The flowers are not happy about people hunting them to collect their poison or to send them to someone they wish to kill, and they attack anyone attempting to do so. They also resist being harvested for crafting. In any case, the flower's magic is too strong even after their death, and it would disrupt the magic of any craft in a likely deadly manner. A f- an estate is just the name for a big country. A fourth of it is occupied by the forest. Okay, but you did say they live in an artificial pool in a manor. Does that mean the main manor or a sub manor? Um, a state is just a name for a big country. Okay. A map of the estate would be cool. The same kind of rough map that mine was not rough, but a map showing here's the estate, here's where the flowers are. Okay. There is one at the top in the sidebar. Um, I won't. I mean, okay, juxtaposition about. Yeah, I'd be willing to review something. Um, I do try to keep this family friendly, and so just know that I personally won't say the swear words. Um, but please, if this is Samuel Jackson, snakes on a plane, no. But um, if it's PG-13 level swearing, I'll still review it, but I won't say I'll just over the swear words or something like that. Okay. Excuse me. Despite the plant's general animosity, there have been legends of them coming to the rescue of members of the House of Alyssenne and Lyrene when they were in danger. The details of such events are unclear, as the houses are keeping such strategic information secret. If such stories are true, it can be concluded that the flowers are aware of their origins and keep some affection for their creators. Interesting. The Alyssine flower is known by everyone in the Empire and has always been so closely associated with House Alyssine they've made it their emblem. Okay, previously you talked about the apple, and that one sentence about the apple just kind of seemed off. You could put that information down here. They changed it from the apple and into, and then you could have old emblem, new emblem type thing. The ballroom in the Alyssine Manor is also extremely famous. The floor of the room is made of clear see-through crystal, under which is a deep pool of water. A population. Oh, apple is for Lyrene. The flower is. Oh, okay. Never mind. The population, as the flowers float inside it, showing off the beautiful colors to the imperial nobility. However, if guests are particularly rowdy, the Absines can dissolve the floor under their feet and let them fall below and become food for the flowers. Wow, that is a whole political nightmare right there. Holy cow. Um, okay, so see through crystal and not glass because that is scary that this poison they can dissolve the floor. I think you skipped the third paragraph in the. I did? Oh, instead of Alyssine's wish to dispose of their enemies, they send them to a local pentagrams, magic. Okay. Keyed to a place in the middle of the Black Forest that is warded to prevent anyone from leaving by using another location pentagram. Assassins have an observatory in their manor that allows them to spy on anyone in their estate. They can use it to observe their enemies stumbling through the forest and their eventual demise at the Alyssenne Flare's roots or at the prayers living in the forest. Wow. Yeah, that's okay, cool. Oh, it temporarily dissolves the crystal? Wow. Okay, taxonomy. Oh, related articles. Okay, wow. This is great. Did I shrink this too far? Okay, yeah, reset. This is great stuff. Um, yeah, thank you for sharing and the triple sprint. Yeah, hopefully this was helpful. I hope you don't think I just ripped it apart too much, but I think you have a ton of great information in here. The the information here on the flowers, the diagrams, the pictures are really good. I think they're very helpful. So yeah, congratulations and good job and best of luck keeping it under the word limit for the competition. That's a lot of